Now today we're going to look at making some parts for a American muscle car. From what I can gather, this is a Hurst Shifter, so that must be the gear shift, and he said this is the clutch mechanism. What we're going to make today is a bush for this pin here to go in here to take up this space here, and we need to make a new pin and a new bush. This bush goes on here and it goes into that hole. Now we're going to look at making the small bush first. That's going to be made out of bronze, and that's the one that fits into this hole here. We're going to make it with a head. Now that head there is going to go onto the back side or the underneath side here, so that when he puts his pin in, the edge of the head will be right up on the edge of that hole, so when he puts his split pin in there, it'll all be held in. Now the actual pin size is 9.2 and a 2364 is 9.13, so we'll put that through it, and then we'll just probably emery it out until we get a nice fit into our hole. And then and the outside here is a bit over ½ inch, so we want to make that pretty much on size so it doesn't slip around in that hole. We want it to fit in there nicely. The 4.5mm is the thickness of this material here, and the 4mm just takes up the rest up to the edge of that hole. Jump on the lathe and see if we can start making that. Just finished machining our part, and we've got a nice fit on our bush now. That slides in nicely now. So it's just a little bit tight around this area here where we're going to push it into here. So what I'll do is I'll have a look at and see if there's any burrs inside this hole here. I'll have another check measure and I'll make sure there's no burrs around here, and then what I'll do is I'll just lightly emery that until I get a nice fit in there that will just either tap in, or I'll just pull it in just very light. With bronze, your center will squash in very easily. Too much on the outside there will just squash the inside, then we'll have to emery the inside out. So all I wanted that to do is just go in there and not fall out, if anything. I've emeryed this bush back now. It just wants to start going in there. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put a plate on the bottom and a plate on the top, and just use a G-clamp and pull it up in there. So we'll do that now. See if we can do that. Alright, that's all the way home. That's nice and flush there. So There it is. All the way home. Nice and neat looking. So let's see if this pin fits in there still. Oh yes, look at that. Beautiful. A little bit of movement there, but that is due to the wear on this pin, so I think that's a lot less than what he had. So that's beautiful. Alright, we'll have a look at the next part of the job. Now this is the second half of the job. We're going to look at making this pin here. Has a hex on it, and this surface here, he said there was some sort of felt seal going on here, and then this surface here is for our bush. I've modified the pin to take a M6 bolt down the end here. Now that's to eliminate the circlip. Now the thread on the end here, that is 1/2 inch UNC with a 13 TPI. So I'll do the pin first, that way I can get the bush to fit the pin, and then while I've got it in the lathe I can machine the outside and get this part here to slide onto the bush while it's in the machine, because the down inside the hole here hit a few times and it's a little bit out of round, so that's a bit of a hit and miss, that size, about 19 mil or 3/4. So what I'll do is I'll go probably about 1/2 mil up on that, and then start fitting it up till I get a nice fit. I've got my diameters now. We're about 1/8 thou under 1/2 inch here, which is good for a die. I've got a tool in here now. We need to put a neck at the back of the thread, so that when we cut the thread there's a little bit of a gap there, and it allows the thread to continue up this shoulder here. Now setting the tool like this allows a chamfer on the back side of the thread as well. So we've got a chamfer on the front, and doing this will allow a chamfer on the back, so that way we won't have any sharp edges. I'll touch on the diameter here, so I'll move it into 9.5, and then just move the carriage back about 1 mil or so. That should give me enough room there to run the thread up. There's the neck there, so that'll allow this bolt to screw right up onto the shoulder there. Now I'm just starting my thread. So what I've done is I've started on the job. I've put some tapping compound on here. I've just got my drill chuck, my tailstock. So I'm turning the chuck while turning the tailstock, and the handle is just pushing onto the table as I turn, and that way that's stopping that from turning. So I've just got that started, so I'll run that through now. Goes all the way down now. A little bit of movement just like the original. So now I know it's going to fit his car. We've got our thread cut. We've got this part of the job running true, because that's the part we machined with the thread, so that's running true. I've faced it to length. Now I'm going to machine the back side of the job, or this side of the job here. So I'll machine these faces here, surfaces there, then I'll drill and tap it last. That's the machining complete on the lathe, so we'll move over to the mill and put the hex on it. I've got a 6mm cutter there. I've got the job sitting on that shoulder there. There's plenty of clearance around everything. Table's on 0, handle's on 0, and I've just written my numbers out for 60 degrees. I've got the initial little flats on there now. I've got six little flats, and they measure 21 mil. So I need to go to 19. So there's 2 mil difference. So I will move on my dial here. I will move a total distance of 1 mil. Then that will take 2 mil, because it'll be taking 1 mil either side. I'll do that. I'll probably do it in 1/2 mil cuts. Here's this part finished now. Just needs a little deburr. So now we'll look at making the bush that slides onto here, and that slides into this housing. I've roughed out this bush now. I'm about 19.5. Now I've drilled the centre hole here. It just doesn't fit in there, so we'll emery that out to suit our shaft, and we will just keep taking small cuts on this until that housing wants to just be a nice. I ended up setting up my little boring bar for the bore. I was starting to get a bit of bell mouthing there, and I didn't like it. It was starting to wobble around, but I've got a nice fit now, so that fits in there really nice. And this housing here, it's still wobbly because it's a bit out of round, but in general that's pretty much what he was looking at. Just something that's not too loose, but also he needs it to move. Here's our completed job now. We've got the bolt done up on there. We've got a little bit of movement here. We've got a nice rolling action here, and we've got this going into here. Alright, thanks for watching. If you like the adventures we're having here at DM Engineering, click the subscribe button and we'll see you next time.